Hello, I'm John Landy, Isidore Lowe Professor Emeritus at the University of Missouri Law School. I graduated from law school in 1980, and in the mid 1980s, I had a law and mediation practice. After that, I earned a PhD in sociology, focusing on the sociology of law and dispute resolution. In 2000, I began teaching at Missouri. I retired from teaching in 2015, but I've continued writing and giving presentations to academics, students, and practitioners. In February 2025, I became fascinated with the potential of artificial intelligence, and I've been exploring it ever since. That led me to create an AI tool called the Real Practice Systems Negotiation and Mediation Coach, or RPS Coach for short. It's based on the ideas, research, and teaching tools I've developed over the past 40 years, especially my work on mediation, negotiation, and legal education. So why is this relevant now? AI tools like ChatGPT have grown extremely powerful in just the past few years, and they're quickly becoming part of education, legal practice, and dispute resolution. For faculty and students, this creates a huge opportunity, not only to save time and work more efficiently, but also to learn and teach in ways that weren't possible until very recently. In this video, I'll give you a basic introduction to AI and show you how you can use these concepts with any AI tool. I'll also demonstrate RPS Coach, which is particularly valuable for faculty and students interested in dispute resolution because it's trained on my work. Let's get started. Here's what we'll cover in this video. First, we'll look at how AI can be used in dispute resolution and in teaching. Next, I'll introduce real practice system theory. That's the framework I developed to help practitioners, educators, and students think more clearly about negotiation and mediation. It's about having a comprehensive system for analyzing these processes. Then we'll look at RPS Coach itself. You can think of it as having my 40 years experience available without having to track me down in person. I just call it Coach. Like any good coach, it gives useful feedback, but leaves the decisions up to you. Finally, I'll show you a demonstration of Coach in action so you can see how it responds to realistic faculty and student tasks. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear picture of AI in general and a sense of how you can use Coach and other AI tools. Let's look at some of the ways that AI can help faculty and students in your day-to-day work. AI can help faculty customize a wide range of teaching materials to fit your courses and students. It can help students prepare for and participate in simulations. It can improve students' research and writing by helping them find sources, summarize complex materials, and suggest ways to clarify arguments. It can promote reflection by giving feedback about simulation performances and written work. It can help students prepare for the technology you'll need in practice. And it can help develop AI literacy so that students and faculty can evaluate AI output, spot its strengths and weaknesses, and use it responsibly. And it can help everyone work more efficiently, freeing up time for things that AI can't replace. We call AI a tool because that's just what it is, something you use to get things done. Of course, getting the most from AI tools depends on how you use them, and that's what we'll discuss next. Here are some guidelines for getting the most out of AI. First, use it with care. AI isn't perfect, and sometimes it's confidently wrong. Second, ask clear and specific questions. The more precise you are, the more likely you are to get a useful answer. Third, treat it as a dialogue. Don't just take the first response and stop there. Plan to follow up, refine your question, and explore different angles. Fourth, check whether the responses are accurate and useful, especially if you plan to rely on them. AI can save time, but it still requires human review. Protect confidentiality. Avoid providing names or other personally identifying information. And be sure to inform yourself about AI policies of your school or course and comply with them. Used well, AI can be a valuable partner in your work, but only if you use it thoughtfully. A key skill in working with AI is writing good prompts. It's like telling a smart assistant exactly what you need. So here's a simple formula. First, identify your role. For example, I'm a faculty member teaching mediation, or I'm a law student. Second, state your task. Something like, I need help developing a grading rubric, or I want to prepare for a simulation. Third, give the context. A short description of the situation helps AI focus its response. For example, this is for a negotiation class. Fourth, request the type of output you want and be specific. For example, I'd like an outline, or I'd like feedback about this draft. Fifth, add any important details. The more relevant information you provide, the better the answer will be. And if it's relevant, include your course name, your learning goals, or the specifics of the assignment. That way, AI can tailor the response to what you need. For example, a student might use the following prompt. I'm a law student in a negotiation class, and I did a simulation that didn't go well. Please help me figure out why not and what I might have done differently. Then the student would describe what happened and what the problem was. Remember, if you don't get the response you need, tell AI why the answer didn't work and what kind of response you're looking for instead. Here are a few examples of prompts that faculty might use. You could ask AI to revise your syllabus to help prepare students for the next gen bar exam. You could tell it to draft a PowerPoint deck for a class on working with clients. You might ask it to create a simulation of a personal injury mediation, or you could design an assignment where students use AI to prepare for a simulation and then have students submit their chat transcripts showing how they prepared. These are just starting points. You should adjust them to fit your course, your students, and your goals. Now let's see how students can make the most of AI. Students might ask, what are credible sources about this topic? Provide links so I can check the accuracy. That way, you're not just getting an answer, you're getting a way to check it for yourself. You could ask, how can I test if an AI tool's information is accurate? If you're playing a party in a negotiation simulation, you could ask, how should I prepare? You might submit a draft of a mediation opening statement and ask for feedback. Or if you're playing a lawyer in a simulation, you could say, my client wants the most favorable possible agreement. How can I achieve my client's goals? The point isn't just to get an answer, it's to use AI as a thinking partner to work through problems, test your ideas, and improve your work. Now let's talk about the bigger picture behind these examples. Real practice systems theory describes how mediators and lawyers actually work. We'll focus on mediation practice systems as our example, but lawyers also develop systems for representing clients in mediation and handling other work. Mediators develop regular systems, including actions before, during, and after mediation sessions. Some are conscious strategies, and others are routines they hardly notice. These systems are affected by many factors, including a mediator's history, values, motivations, knowledge, and skills, as well as the kind of cases and parties they typically see and the behavior patterns they regularly encounter. For example, a mediator who is a family lawyer might bring knowledge of divorce law, sensitivity to the emotional aspects of family conflict, and a desire to help parents protect their children. This mediator might routinely ask clients to bring information to the first mediation session about their parenting schedules, financial situations, and priorities. That way, they'll be ready to start as soon as the mediation session begins. If the mediator handles a lot of high conflict disputes, they may develop strategies for setting clear process guidelines, managing interruptions, and de-escalating angry arguments. By contrast, mediator who primarily handles workplace disputes might draw on a background in human resources, a knack for communication coaching, and a focus on preserving professional relationships. This mediator's routine might include private preparation meetings to help each party identify their concerns. In both cases, these systems grow out of the mediator's experiences, values, and goals. Reflective practitioners periodically revisit them to improve their techniques. AI tools like Coach can help practitioners turn unconscious habits into deliberate choices. Now, let's look at a more detailed illustration of how these practice systems actually work in mediation. This chart shows a typical process when parties are represented by lawyers and they prepare before the mediation. That's not always the case. Sometimes parties represent themselves and there's little or no preparation. The 4 rows represent stages in the process. Many people focus only on the mediation session, but the earlier stages often are just as important, if not more so. And mediation also may involve follow-up activities after the session ends. The 3 columns show the roles of lawyers, parties, and mediators. In the first stage, shown in the light blue cell, lawyers interview clients to understand their goals and interests and to start forming a strategy. They'll investigate the facts, research the law, and evaluate likely court outcomes. If mediation seems like a good option, they'll discuss it with the client and reach out to the other lawyer to see if they're interested. If both sides agree, the lawyers choose a mediator. Mediators work in a competitive market, so they may shape their techniques to get repeat referrals. After lawyers retain a mediator, the mediator acts as a stage manager, coordinating with lawyers, reviewing any written submissions, and planning how the process will work. That's the yellow cell. Lawyers, in turn, prepare their clients for what to expect in mediation and how to pursue their goals. During the mediation session, the green cell, the mediator manages the process. The goal is to help the parties decide whether to reach a mutually acceptable agreement, shown in the orange cell. Afterward, the follow-up depends on the outcome. If there's an agreement, lawyers usually draft it and handle implementation. If not, the case continues in litigation with a possibility of a later settlement or going to trial. Now that we've seen how these stages fit together, let's see how AI, and especially RPS Coach, can help mediators and lawyers understand and improve their work. Coach is essentially ChatGPT plus my work on negotiation and mediation practice all rolled into one AI tool. You can think of it as ChatGPT with a JD, PhD, and lots of experience and insight. It's designed to help everyone in the dispute resolution ecosystem, from mediators, lawyers, and parties, to administrators, educators, and students. For mediators, it can suggest ways to handle challenging dynamics. For lawyers, it can generate negotiation strategies. For parties, it can help explain their options in plain language. For faculty and students, it can bring theory to life with realistic scenarios. Coach draws on more than 200 of my practical and theoretical publications. So when you ask it a question, you're getting an answer informed by my work in conflict resolution, professional practice, and legal education. The knowledge base includes checklists for mediators and lawyers, my co-authored book on litigation, interest, and risk assessment, and research on parties make decisions in disputes. It also covers negotiation and mediation techniques, the roles of lawyers and mediators, and strategies for preparation and early dispute resolution. In short, Coach puts my professional library at your fingertips, available anytime in just seconds. Coach explains what it can and can't do, promotes sound decision-making, and uses plain language that both professionals and the public can understand. It encourages users to see issues from different perspectives and offers practical tools and checklists. It helps users analyze possible court outcomes and the parties' interests. It doesn't rely on any single dispute resolution theory, and it takes ethical concerns into account. Like any AI tool, it doesn't always follow instructions exactly. So it's important to review the output, assess its usefulness, and decide what to do with it. If you're not sure about the response, follow with coach or consult other sources. People sometimes say there needs to be a human in the loop. I say there needs to be a human in charge. With that in mind, let's look at a concise checklist identifying things that practitioners do before, during, and after mediation sessions. As we saw in the table in a previous slide, a mediator's work often begins well before the mediation session, and it can continue long after it ends. Before a mediation session, mediators may set the stage by gathering information, learning about the participants, and reviewing key documents. During the session, they guide the process, may help parties analyze their interests, manage emotional dynamics, and work to resolve disagreements. If the parties don't reach agreement, the mediator may follow up to see if they'd like to continue mediating later. After a mediation session, mediators may also take time to reflect on what worked and how they could improve their techniques. This list is a short version of a much more detailed checklist in Coach's knowledge base. Coach also includes a separate checklist for lawyers covering their tasks before, during, and after mediation sessions. And the same principles can apply in negotiations without mediators. This list of resources can help you explore these topics in more depth and get the most out of RPS Coach and other AI tools. The two-page user guide can help you start to use Coach right away. The guide to writing prompts shows how to ask questions that get useful answers and includes plenty of examples for faculty and students. The piece on teaching with AI describes how faculty can help students learn more deeply, improve their writing, and get meaningful feedback. Another article focuses on using AI in simulations with a model assignment to help students prepare for and reflect on role-play exercises. There's also a short piece on how AI enables students to, quote, show their work by submitting their AI chats. This gives faculty insights into students' thinking process. And finally, the article on quasi-mediators describes lawyers who try to reach agreements that serve their clients' interests and that are acceptable to both sides. They help clients understand the other side's perspective and look for reasonable solutions whenever possible, while still advocating strongly if the other side acts unreasonably. So let's switch gears now and see Coach in action in real time. For this first demonstration, Coach is asked to help design a negotiation simulation between two small businesses, an exercise that lets students pursue purely self-interested outcomes or explore ways to create mutual benefits. You'll see how Coach handles this request. Before we run this first demonstration, let me preview the second one. In this example, I'll dictate the instructions and have Coach transcribe them, and then I can edit them before submitting the prompt. Here, the scenario is a law student preparing to mediate a divorce case, focusing on parenting time and child support issues. We will ask Coach to suggest questions for each party, anticipate emotional dynamics, and propose strategies to guide the conversation towards more constructive solutions. So let's start with the first demonstration. I've already loaded the text into this chat, so all I need to do is to click the arrow to get it going, But before I do that, I want to show you the 4 starter conversation start buttons for different roles. You can see this one for attorneys and mediators, this one for instructors, trainers, students, and trainees, this one for ADR program administrators, and this one for people having disputes of their own that they want some help. So I'm going to click this button now. And you'll see that every chat in RPS Coach begins with some standard disclosures. Coach reminds you that it can make mistakes. Let's see. So you should review the output, assess its accuracy, ask follow-up questions, and decide what to use. It makes clear that it doesn't give legal advice or act as a mediator. It also warns you not to enter names or other identifying information. After that, it responds to your prompt. So let's take a look and see what it did. So here's response to your prompt. It's developing a simulation titled Bruco and Beanware, and it provides an overview of the scenario. And then it provides the shared background for both sides. Signed a 3-year supply agreement. There are problems. And then it provides confidential instructions for both parties. Here are the instructions for Bruco, the buyer. It identifies priorities, internal information, and tone and strategy options. And then it does the same for Beanware, the seller, identifying its priorities, internal information, and its tone and strategy options. And then it provides teaching notes for faculty use. It identifies various teaching objectives, suggests themes for debriefing. And then at the end here, it always asks a question about follow-ups. Would you like help expanding this into a multi-round simulation, or adding a third-party mediator, or providing scoring rubrics and an evaluation form? Now you can follow up, use those questions, or ask something different. For instance, you could ask it to change the facts in a specific way, or ask it to present them as a narrative instead of bullet points. We're going to go on to the next demonstration. So I'm going to dictate it by clicking this dictate button. I'm a law student preparing to act as a mediator in a divorce mediation simulation. The couple agrees about property division, but disagree about partnering time and child support. Help me prepare questions to ask each party, anticipate emotional dynamics, and develop strategies to guide them towards constructive solutions. So I click the button and we see that it has transcribed my dictation. So I'm going to click the arrow to get it produce its response. And just as before, it starts with the standard disclosure. And you can see how quickly it responds. So here it lists questions to ask each party in joint and private sessions. It asks questions about parenting time. What's worked well for your child so far? What are your goals? And asks questions about child support. How do you currently share day-to-day costs? And then it asks about their intangible interests. What would help you feel respected in this process? And then it has a chart of anticipating emotional dynamics. And it lists 5 different types of emotions that one might expect, possible sources of the emotions, and suggestions about how mediators might handle them. And then it gives tips about what to do when emotions escalate. And then in response to the question about strategies to guide constructive solutions, it suggests a series of framing tools, process design ideas, and ways to promote agreement. And again, it suggests possible follow-ups, and you could use those follow-ups or not and ask something else instead. Now, I've asked Coach the exact same question several times, and each time it gives me a slightly different response. Each response is thoughtful and helpful, but no two are exactly alike. So what can we learn from that? First, AI tools don't give identical answers because they are based on probabilities. Second, tools like Coach are best for brainstorming, situations where there isn't one right answer. Third, and most important, it's up to you to follow up the responses instead of just taking them at face value. That means asking more questions, requesting it to explain terms you don't understand, or telling it when the answers aren't what you need and being clear about what you want. We've seen how Coach responds to different prompts. The real value comes when you experiment with AI yourself. So now it's your turn to try RPS Coach for yourself. Start with a 2-page user guide. It'll give you the basics, including a link to Coach. Next, pick a real or hypothetical task and give Coach your prompt. And then go back and forth in the chat. Fine-tune your prompts until you get what you need. If the response misses the mark, tell Coach what didn't work and what you'd like instead. And when you're done, think about what worked well, what you might adjust, and how you could benefit from AI in the future. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you found it useful and that it helps you use AI tools effectively in your work. Thank you very much.